Hello booktuber friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Mel, and today I bring you a long-awaited video, a video you guys constantly ask me about, but I always put up. But we're here, we're doing the thing, and I am bringing you an updated bookshelf tour. I have not done one since I think like a thorough one since last year, and I have added tons more books to my collection. And not only that, but I've also added new shelves. I also have a TBR cart so that it's actually serving its purpose as a TBR cart, which is a concept if you ask me. I have accumulated over the course of my lifetime over 700 books. At this point in time, they are ordered not by height, which is a concept you guys know. For the most part, in the trajectory of my channel, I've mostly had my books in height order in the past. However, because there are so many shelves now, and because it's hard to maintain height order in shelves, especially as you add new books, I've decided to just do mix and match. It gives me a home library feel. It's also easier to add new books to the bookshelves that way because I don't need to overthink the process of reorganizing. I just rather shove it on the bookshelf, call it a day. And they are ordered by genre. So you'll start seeing as I go along, there is YA fantasy, adult fantasy, sci-fi, we've got historical fiction, we've got romance, we've got middle grade. So everything is ordered sort of by genre / age group, and I quite like how not only it looks, but how easy things are to spot. And before I jump into it, do let me know, how do you organize your shelves? Is there anything in particular you do? Alphabetical, genre, age group, just by vibe, by height, not by height? What do you do? What is the vibe? Do let a girl know. Let's get into it. Also, before we move on, let me just say, this library comes with top-notch security. I'm just warning you, if you ever try to steal from me, you won't be able to do it. Alright, so we're starting out with my very first shelf, and I am currently hand-holding my camera, so this might as well just be the worst idea I've ever had. But this is mostly either Rick Riordan books or Riordan Presents one. So we have got the entirety of the Tristan Strong trilogy, followed by the entirety of the Magnus Chase trilogy, both of which I have yet to even start. Then we have got the Heroes of Olympus, which I arguably, sometimes I think I like this more than the actual Percy Jackson series. I was reading this series as it was coming out, and I remember heart stopping at the House of Hades because the Blood of Olympus was not out yet. So I literally read every single one up until House of Hades in the middle, and I have yet to read Blood of Olympus, but I honestly just need to restart the whole thing. Then we have got Paula Santiago and the Forest of Nightmares, which is a sequel, Bahua and the Soul Stealer, Keeper of the Lost Cities, Pax Journey Home, which is also a sequel, Kiki's Delivery Service, The Bad Beginning, which is the first book in a series of unfortunate events, and the entire Chronicles of Narnia. Followed by my little section of Marvel comics. These are the new Penguin Classic editions. They are all hardback. They've got some really nice gilded edges, and I love these. As soon as I saw these were coming out, I knew I had to have them, and now they're a part of my collection. So we've got Black Panther, The Amazing Spider-Man, and Captain America, and I really do hope they're coming out with more of these. And then the last little section at the top of my bookshelves, I am reaching as far as my arms can take me, but we've got two Japanese translated fictions, The Traveling Cat Chronicles and The Miracles of the Namilla General Store. We have got a Spanish thriller, El Silencio de la Ciudad Blanca, Sunshine, It's Not About the Burqa, A Deal with the Elf King, Atomic Habits, The Darkening, The Vanishing Half, A Promised Land, and then Becoming. A very random stack, but books that couldn't fit anywhere else. The next shelf is another middle grade shelf, and I love this one. I love how Pages & Co. Tilly and the Map of Stories is facing out. The UK hardcovers for Pages & Co. are absolutely stunning, but let me give you a closer look into the shelf because we're a little bit too far out and I need you to see some details. Now, starting on the left-hand side, we have got the Frostheart trilogy by Jamie Littler. Now, if you know Gav from How to Train Your Gavin, then you know this is one of his all-time favorite middle grade series, and he sent me these from his own collection, and I am so happy that I own these because these are these special Waterstones editions that have the really pretty stenciled edges. All three of them, let me just turn around the last one, but all three of them have these really stunning stenciled edges, and you can't find these anymore. These are definitely some of my prized possessions, and they just mean so much more because he also sent them my way. And that is followed by Last Gamer Standing, Standing and Front Desk, and I have to say, Last Gamer Standing, one of my favorite middle grade covers ever. We have a nice little stack of books right here, Rainbow Grey, which was also sent to me by Gav. He's actually featured in the book, which is pretty fucking cool. We've got The Haunting of Evelyn Jones, A Pinch of Magic, Mina and the Undead, which I still can't figure out if it's YA or middle grade, but it's right here. We've got Pax, which is the first book, The Trials of Morrigan Crow, Paola Santiago and the River of Tears, Budkin and Stubbs, and the first 2 books in the Pages & Co series. And for the last little bit of this middle grade bookshelf, we have got the entirety of the Percy Jackson series, but we have got them in the Nerdy Ink dust jacket version. Now you buy the hardcovers and you have to buy the dust jacket separately, but honestly, out of every edition of Percy Jackson I have seen, these are definitely the prettiest in my opinion. And if you want some really good but super affordable dust jackets, and they've got a bunch of different series too, I would definitely suggest Nerdy Ink because the dust jackets are super affordable, but the customs in them are great. We've got the 3rd book in the Pages & Co series. This is Tilly and the Map of Stories, which is signed by Anna James, and another one of my prized possessions, Tilly and the Book Smugglers. This is what it looks like without the dust jacket, and it is also signed and personalized by Anna James. Another gift from Gav. He really truly is feeding into my middle grade shelf, and I am super thankful for this one. This is definitely one of my favorite things I own. And to wrap up this shelf, we've got Amari and the Night Brothers, which is one of my all-time favorite middle grades, Witchlings, and Midsummer's Mayhem. The next shelf over is the first of 3 Sarah J. Maas shelves, which is honestly a choice in and out of itself, but right here we have got the collector's edition of ACOTAR, and we have got the entirety of the ACOTAR series in the Dominic Wesson dust jacket, so I did buy these separate from the books. I quite like Dominic's illustration style. I find it to be really, really stunning, and honestly, out of every illustrator that I've seen, I think Dominic has contributed a lot of art for the series, and so I knew I had to get these, especially because I missed out on the Illumicrate ones. The only thing I don't like about these is the fact that the spine for A Court of Frost and Starlight doesn't line up. Beside that, the spines for all of them are super, super pretty. So we've got A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, A Court of Wings and Ruin, A Court of Frost and Starlight, and the newest entry that came out last year, A Court of Silver Flames. Next, we've got the first half of my YA contemporary / romance shelf, starting with If You Change Your Mind, Fat Chance Charlie Vega, Solitaire, Nick and Charlie, The Astonishing Color of After, which I would definitely recommend as an audiobook. It is such a beautiful book, super fast to get through, and it honestly packs a punch. We've got Tweet Cute and a follow-up story, which if you're into like feuding families, competing restaurants, and a lot of messiness, but in the cutest way possible, but also in the most heartfelt, would definitely recommend these 2. The Perks of Being a Wildflower, The Girls I've Been, my Elizabeth Acevedo collection, The Poet X, Clap When You Land, and With the Fire on High. My favorite is The Poet X. And then we have got the novelizations of Fence, Striking Distance, and Disarmed, Tokyo Ever After, You've Reached Sam, Darius the Great Is Not Okay, and Darius the Great Deserves Better, A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow, which is a super cozy read, would definitely recommend as well. The Midnight Library, Radio Silence, Once Upon a Quinceañera, Monday's Not Coming, and Grown, both by Tiffany Jackson, XOXO by Axio, and Love and Gelato. Then we have got my second SJM shelf. We have got the Throne of Glass Collector's Edition, which I love way more than the ACOTAR one. I like the purple, I like everything. I take it out, but like these books like do not fucking move. But we have got the Collector's Edition and the entirety of the Throne of Glass series in paperback. So we've got Assassin's Blade, Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Heir of Fire, Queen of Shadows, Empire of Storms, Tower of Dawn, and Kingdom of Ash, with Empire of Storms being my all-time favorite. Another YA shelf, we have got Punching the Air by E.B. Savoy, Parachutes, the entirety of the Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy, which I now realize is completely out of order. So let's fix that for all of our sanities. Once Upon a Cape Prom, Clown in a Cornfield, One of Us is Lying, The Female of the Species, Felix Ever After, my Angie Thomas collection, Concrete Rose, On the Come Up, and The Hate to Give, Yolk by Mary H.K. Choi, How It All Blew Up, All My Rage by Saba Tahir. We have got the entire trilogy for the Athena Club series, which is The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter, European Travel for the Monstrous Gentlewoman, and The Sinister Mystery of the Mesmerizing Girl. The entirety of the Truly Devious series, which I love. And if you like thriller mysteries, but set in a super cozy setting, and YA, would definitely suggest Truly Devious. It's so much fun. And then all the way in the corner, I have got my Clockwork Prince Illumicrate edition by its lonesome, but it's got these really pretty edges that I absolutely adore. And right next to the door, we have got the Illumicrate collection for both of Madeline Miller's works. So we've got Circe and the Song of Achilles in here. We have got Crescent City, also known as House of Earth and Blood, House of Sky and Breath, and then The Hunchback of Notre Dame. For this next category, we have got romance books and killer ladies. I couldn't find enough space in my other shelves to put everything together, so I decided to combine the both. And honestly, I'm kind of here for the vibes of romance descending into absolute chaos and madness the more you get into the bookshelf. So right on the corner, we have got Funny You Should Ask, which honestly has got one of my favorite romance covers. I absolutely love this. I think it's so different to what we tend to see nowadays with romance books. So I love the story and I love the cover. That is followed by The Two Lives of Lydia Bird, Love in Other Words, The Royals Next Door, All Roads Lead Here, which is a stunning slow burn single parent trope romance. I love this. The Hating Game, For Your Own Good, my very first historical romance that I absolutely loved. I feel like this was honestly the best introduction to the genre because it was not intimidating in the slightest. It was also super comedic, super steamy, loved every second of it. It is A Week to Be Wicked by Tessa Dare. We've got The Fine Print, Book Lovers, and Beach Read, both by Emily Henry. The Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey. Finley Donovan is Killing It. Finley Donovan Knocks Him Dead, Homicide and Halo Halo, My Lovely Wife, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, They Never Learn, The Death of Jane Lawrence, A Curious Beginning, All's Well by Mona Awad. And let me tell you, I had to pay extra for this cover because this is the Canadian one, but absolutely no regrets because I absolutely loved this. Loved this way more than the regular cover. So I'm so glad that I decided to splurge just a little bit on this because it became one of my favorite books and the cover is just screaming thespian. I love it so much. And then for the last few bits of the shelf, we have got It Happened One Summer, Hook, Line, and Sinker, A Touch of Darkness, The Ex-Boyfriend Yard Sale, A Deadly Affair, Verity, and Bunny, also by Mona Awad. Next up, we have a YA fantasy/sci-fi shelf, and we have The Beautiful and the Damned, both by Renee Ahdieh, The Ravens, Wicked Fox, which is one of my favorite books. It reads like a K-drama. It's super cozy, but the drama's fantastic. Listen, if you guys have not read this yet, I would definitely recommend. And Vicious Spirits, which is the sequel. It is even better than the first one. And then we have The Ones We're Meant to Find and The Raven Boys. And we are on to adult fantasy, and this is primarily Sanderson in the shelf. We have got The Way of Kings, which is the very first book in the Stormlight Archive series, Words of Radiance, which, if you guys don't know about the story of how I got scammed on eBay for a white edition of Words of Radiance, let me tell you, I bought a copy on eBay, and because the white edition of Words of Radiance is so rare, all of the copies are like upwards of $300. I found one for like 100 and something, and I was like, you know what? It's a collectible. My order was canceled. My account was terminated by eBay for no reason, and then I never got my book, and I never got my money back. So never again. But we've got Words of Radiance, Oathbringer, and Rhythm of War. And then for this stack over here, we have got the Mistborn trilogy in the collectible editions. Honestly, they are editions that I regret buying because they are very uncomfortable to read. And on top of that, I have grown to dislike the covers over time, so I am definitely happier with my US editions, and I high-key wish I hadn't bought them. Then we have got Malice by John Gwynne, as well as Shadow of the Gods, and The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. And then on that side over there, we have got The Helm of Midnight, Priory of the Orange Tree, The Bear and the Nightingale, The Song of Achilles, and finally, A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. Now, this is hands down one of my favorite shelves. I love all of the gold foiling next to each other. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. As you guys know, this edition of Strange the Dreamer cannot be found anymore. It is the first print of the UK hardcovers. I think it only had one run, if I'm not mistaken. And so now these are discontinued. They don't exist anymore. And I found it for super cheap on the used section on Amazon, which if you guys are trying to find rare books, sometimes you can find them in the used section in Amazon. And so I literally got this for like $35. It was absolutely crazy. I had to buy it right away. So love how all of the gold foiling just lines up so nicely. And on the side, I do have my Fairloot Diviner series, which is another one of my prized possessions, if only for the fact that the Diviners is one of those series that I don't understand why they made that choice to constantly change the covers for the series. So the series never had matching covers up until recently. and I honestly don't like the new ones. I think this design right here, which is closer to the original, I thought this formula was great. It was spooky, it looked very occult, and so I love that Fairyloot decided to go with the original sort of formula for their set, because I think they nailed it, and the foiling on top of that just looks absolutely great. So definitely one of my prized possessions, and I need to finish the series. I'm not gonna lie. We have more adult fantasy in this shelf, and we are starting out with Mistborn Era 1. And like I mentioned for the previous shelf for adult fantasy, I now find myself liking the US editions, which initially was not the case, and now I like these way more than the collector's editions, so I'm glad I decided to splurge on these. Then we have got the Atlas 6 by Olive E. Blake in the self-published indie edition. So we've got that, The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, and this is the 10th anniversary edition. This is all jam-packed in here, but it's got a really pretty cover, and it's got these really nice sprayed edges, which I quite like. And honestly, I better like this book when I read it because it was so expensive for no reason. We also have The Last Wish, which is the first book, the first short story collection for The Witcher, and I've got this in the hardcover edition, which I love. And then I have got all of the red editions. These are going out of print soon because they changed the covers. I don't like the new covers, which is why I rushed to buy all of it, despite me not having read anything beyond The Last Wish. I quite like the covers for the red editions. They obviously are very representative of the game, of the series, and it honestly just screams adult fantasy, and I love it. So I just decided to buy all of them because I do not want the other ones on my shelf. We've got Gideon the Ninth, The Fellowship of the Ring, and this cover, again, very classic fantasy. It is so pretty. I did consider buying the Nerdy Ink Dust Jackets, but honestly, there's just something about illustration in this that just hits different. We have got Every Heart a Doorway, Empire of the Vampire, Spinning Silver, A Spindle Splintered, The City We Became, Vicious, and The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Moving back to YA fantasy, we have got These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, one of my favorite books, and then we've got this really pretty edition of the second book, Our Violent Ends. I think this was the Alucrate edition, if I'm not mistaken. I absolutely love the color scheme for it. We have got We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal, then we've got This Vicious Grace, and Enchantment of Ravens, and Vesperdine. Moving on to another genre, we have got the literary fiction, historical fiction side of things. I do have one book missing right here, and it is La Sombra del Viento, Shadow of the Wind, which is the first book in the series that you can see right here, because I lent it to my aunt. She requested I recommend a book to her, and I did, and then she snatched it off the shelf and she took it home with her, so I hope she is enjoying it. But over here we've got Trick Mirror, In the Dream House, Tokyo Ueno Station, which, as you guys know, became a quick favorite when I read it not too long ago. And on top of that, I absolutely love this cover. I think it's the color blocking that really does it for me. It's just really pretty. We've got Before the Coffee Gets Cold all the way over here, which is another one of my favorite books. We've got The Memory Police, 7 Days in June, Sweet Bean Paste that I've heard such great things about, and I think also the illustrated cover just stunning. I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter, one of my favorite books of all time. Daisy Jones and the Six, as you guys know. It is one of my most annotated books. It is fantastic, and I did do a flip through in Patreon of this book. If you ever want to see annotation flip throughs, I do have quite a bit of them, and I am planning on doing some more next month. So I would definitely recommend checking that out if you are into snooping into people's annotations and their systems. Then we're moving on to If I Had Your Face by Frances Cha, Milk Fed, which honestly the cover is really pretty. The book is not. The book was a little bit messy for me. Then we have got Convenience Store Woman, and I love what they've done with this book, because if you order this particular edition, which I think is the UK European one, you never know which color you're gonna get. So you could get pink, you could get yellow, you could get blue, and I think that's pretty cool because it's kind of a surprise despite knowing what exactly it is that you're buying. So I love that. Cleopatra and Frankenstein, which has one of my favorite covers ever. This cover is really stunning. We have got My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Atessa Moshfegh, another one of my favorite books. My Dark Vanessa, Queenie, Unearthed We're Briefly Gorgeous, Kim Yoo-young born 1982, Cien Años de Soledad, which this cover, by the way, yes. Just big, huge yes. The second and third book in the Cementerio de los Libros Olvidados series by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, El Juego del Ángel and El Prisionero del Cielo, Lovely War, The Master and the Margarita, Head Over Heels, the final revival of Opal and Nev, which I have been told is very similar in themes to Daisy Jones and the Six. Like the vibes are very similar, so kind of have to read that soon. We have got A Little Life, The Book Thief, Cloud Cuckoo Land, which I kind of want to read during the fall or winter. It's definitely giving me that time of year. And then this cover of Pachinko, listen, I love it. I just had to order it. We also have the third and final Sarah Janet shelf. So we have got the Akotar series in paperback. We also have the entirety of Throne of Glass in hardcover. But honestly, these Nerdy Ink dust jackets, this is the whole reason why I bought the hardcovers, because this just did it for me. The illustrations are really, really pretty. And at the bottom of the stack, we have got another one of my prized possessions, which is Kingdom of Ash. It is signed by SJM. I found this quite recently for a really, really good price. It is the Tour edition of Kingdom of Ash. So yes, here it is, Tour edition. It's signed. I told myself I was going to find a signed Sarah Janet book, and I did do that. And I am quite happy about it. Once more, we fall back to adult fantasy. We have got A Marvelous Light, The Witch's Heart, The Handmaid's Tale, which is more dystopian, but still put it in here because dystopian sci-fi fantasy, it all kind of resides in the same realm of doesn't really exist in real life. Then we have got the Devabat trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty. I am waiting for my hardcover of River of Silver to come in, but I managed to pre-order that and I'm quite happy about it because, as you guys know, or if you don't know, the hardcovers for the UK editions are now super hard to find, so I wanted to snatch that up before it went extinct. We have got Clara and the Sun, Red Rising, The Eye of the World, Outlander, the Fairy Loot edition of Babel, which is just so stunning. They really nailed it with the color scheme. They nailed it with the custom stenciled edges, and the end papers too for the book are just so pretty. They really knew how to do it. Then behind that, we have The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. We have got A River Enchanted, Gods of Jade and Shadow, The Bone Witch by Rin Chupeco. And honestly, I know Illumicrate still has these in stock, and I'm kind of wondering if I should get this Bone Witch set from Illumicrate, so let me know if the series is worth it. Then we have got the first, second, and fourth book in the Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, because now the third book in hardcover is super hard to find. Another really stunning shelf is the one that has Muse of Nightmares in it. Same case as Strange the Dreamer. I literally found this in the used section of Amazon, and it is the edition that had the sprayed edges, so it was extra special. It did get here in not the best condition. It's literally missing a whole end paper at the beginning of the book, but you know what? I'll forgive it because it is still very, very rare and the cover is still really, really pretty. Everything else is intact. We have got Jadefire Gold in the Fair Loot edition, and this is also a really, really pretty cover. Need to read this soon because this cover is just giving it all, and I know part of this book's pitch is Avatar: The Last Airbender, so I'm really curious to read that and see what the vibes are. We have got The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea, Once Upon a Broken Heart, These Hollow Vows, and Leviathan Wakes, and this is the 10th anniversary edition that has the neon pink sprayed edges, and I quite love it. More adult fantasy and sci-fi, what would you know? We've got The Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee. These are the Illumicrate editions. I believe these editions that are just naked books, a lot of foiling. I think they're called Royal format. Not too sure, but I think that's what they're called. And I love these so much. They're super pretty. And also, I annotated these to filth, and it was a great time. No regrets. We have got The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. Once more, we have got these collectible editions. I will say, for The Blade Itself, I quite like this cover way more than the Mistborn ones. And also, The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. I also quite like this cover. However, knowing how uncomfortable these editions are to read, don't know if I'm going to read these. I'm probably going to have to buy paperback edition of these so that I can properly read them. But The Blade Itself, though, this edition is really quite nice. I quite like what they did with it because it's not as simple as the other ones. We have got Book of Night by Holly Black, one of my favorite books of all time, Middle Game by Shannon Maguire, the sequel, which is not that great, Seasonal Fears. We've got the anniversary edition of Addie LaRue. I will continue to say that it was so shocking to me that this book got so many exclusive editions so fast. This is literally a a 1-year anniversary edition, which in my head makes absolutely no sense, but I still bought it because it's one of my favorite books, has got some really, really nice stenciled edges and just some really nice customs. And I was really dying for a UK edition of it because I only owned an ARC. We have got This Woven Kingdom by Tahira Mafi, the Broken Earth Trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, Dune by Frank Herbert, The Wolf and the Woodsman, and the Atlas 6 once more, but this is the Fairlute edition. I'm quite glad that I ended up getting this too, because the second book, I pre-ordered the Waterstones edition for the Atlas Paradox. It's white. It's got some really beautiful stenciled edges, so I think this is gonna fit quite nicely, but the Fairlute edition for the second one is also quite pretty. I am not gonna lie. Next up, we have got YA fantasy / sci-fi, and then we have got one random cozy adult fantasy. So we've got Daughter of the Moon Goddess. We've got a random SJM book here because it didn't fit on my last SJM shelf, so this is the novella, A Court of Frost and Starlight in the paperback edition. We've got The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy, Violet Made of Thorns, Skyward, Starsight, Skyward Flight, and Cytonic, which are all a part of the same series. This is Sanderson's YA sci-fi, and the reason why I have 2 editions of Cytonic is because one of them is signed, and the other one was gifted by one of you lovely subscribers, so I still have it. And then we have got Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim, and Spin the Dawn by the same author. Alright, we are nearing the floor area, and this is my romance shelf, which again had some leftovers on one of the top shelves, but starting all the way from the corner, we have got A Lot Like Adios by Alexa Daria, From Look Up With Love, Birthday Girl, The Road Trip, which love the cover for The Road Trip. Don't know if I'm gonna like it just based on the reviews, but I own it. And A Holidays, Ugly Love, All Your Perfects, and Reminders of Him, all by Miss Coho. You Deserve Each Other, Duke Actually, The Viscount Who Loved Me. I still need to read this book, but I am very excited to devour it when the time is due. One to watch, we've got Delilah Green Doesn't Care, Get a Life Chloe Brown, Take a Hint Annie Brown, Actor H. Eve Brown. Eve Brown is my favorite. The Kiss Quotient and The Bright Test, and then the entire Bromance Book Club series, Bromance Book Club, Undercover Bromance, Crazy Stupid Bromance, and Isn't It Bromantic? And on this end of things, we have got The Spanish Love Deception, Intercepted, Fumbled, and Blitz, which are all a part of the same series, Meet Cute Club, Learn My Lesson, The Sea Witch, Spoiler Alert, Window Shopping, The Roommate, and The Charm Offensive. We have got some classics and then books that look like classics. So we've got several Barnes & Noble leatherbounds, Dracula, Sense and Sensibility, and Persuasion. Sense and Sensibility, I think, has got to be my favorite out of all of them. Love the green, and then I love these sort of carrot orange edges. They look very, very nice. So I absolutely adore this edition. We have the All Souls trilogy by Deborah Harkness. These are the Juniper books, I think it's called, dust jackets. So again, you either buy the book separately from the dust jackets, or they do sell the dust jackets with the books. These are quite pricey, but honestly, the look and feel of the dust jackets themselves is quite nice. And this just screams science and alchemy and the occult. And I just think it's perfectly representative of the series itself. So I love it so much. Then we have The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Other Stories, Great Expectations, and The Shadow of the Wind. Back to YA fantasy and sci-fi / dystopian, just a little bit of everything. We have got the Cruel Prince trilogy right here, The Year of the Reaper, An Arrow to the Moon, The Rise of Kyoshi, and The Shadow of Kyoshi. And oh my god, I didn't realize how packed these shelves were, but these, oh my god, what a stunning illustration, what a stunning pair of books. I can't wait to read these. I think they're going to be fantastic, and I've heard really great things overall. We have The Wicker King, The Ivory Key, Fire with Fire, the first half of the Shatter Me trilogy, and I refuse to believe that this has any more than 3 books. I initially read the series when I was in middle school, and at that point in time, there were only 3 books. I thought it was going to be 3 books. I don't know if the original plan was only these 3. I just fully embraced the fact that it had an open ending, and you know what? I have spent almost a decade believing that, and I think I'm okay with that. We've got Caraval by Stephanie Garber, the Scythe trilogy by Neil Shusterman, well, Arc of a Scythe. We've got Blood Scion, Aurora Rising, Lair of Dreams, Ballad and Dagger, The Devil Makes 3, Gallant, and right at the corner over there, we have got A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. All right, we are moving into my vampire shelf. Hello. So we have got Master of Death by Olivia Blake in the self-published edition. Managed to snatch this up about, I would say, maybe 2 months ago before it went out of print. and I cannot wait to read this because it sounds super cool. We have A Dowry of Blood in its original cover. This is honestly, in my opinion, way prettier than what they did with the traditionally published one, and it's honestly a shame that they changed the cover to something so simple. I still do think it gives the gothic vibes that the book has. However, this cover is just superior. We have got the All Souls trilogy, again, but in paperback, so in the original covers. We have got another self-published Olive E. Blake book, and the tabs just fell out of it because I'm currently reading this, but this is Le Petit Mort. And then we have got the special editions of Twilight. I got, by special editions, I also mean custom dust jackets. Now, these dust jackets are by Katie Video, and when I tell you guys, let me just show you these in case you haven't seen them. Listen, I was a Twihard growing up, so this is just everything I would want and more. So we have got these really great VHS horror style from the 80s dust jackets, and I absolutely love them. So all of them were redesigned in this way, and I think they're pretty fantastic. Obviously, they do have the actor's face in them, so if you're not into that, then it's not gonna be your vibe, but I absolutely love them. I love how they line up, and I just think there's something super different in comparison to everything else I have seen, so I love them. We have got a graphic novel, Fangs, and the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Next shelf is more adult fantasy. We have got The Stardust Thief, A Winter's Promise, House of Earth and Blood, The Assassin's Apprentice, and this is the illustrated collector's edition. This is really, really pretty, and it has some amazing customs and pieces inside of it. Let's look for an illustration. There you go. Fully colored, super detailed, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I've heard fantastic things about the Farseer. I think this is the Farseer trilogy. I could be wrong, and I cannot wait to read this. I definitely need to read this before the year is over. We have more Sanderson, a novella, Et Dancer, Elantris, and Warbreaker, Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, Ninth House by Lee Bardugo, Dreams of the Dying, the Poppy War trilogy by R.F. Kuang, The Night Circus in the paperback edition, The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, From Blood and Ash, Truth Witch, Into the Drowning Deep, and last but not least, To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. A little different from books, we have got some graphic novels and some manga, starting with Lore Olympus Volume 2, which is in display. Moving that over, we have Orange, which is the complete first collection. We've got Bakuman Volume 1, Spy Family Volume 1, Blood on the Tracks Volumes 1 and 2, Fruits Basket. This is the collector's edition, which has Volume 1 and 2, Tokyo Ghoul Volume 1 through 3. I still need to buy more volumes because I quite like the series, but I haven't done so. A Sign of Affection, The Magic Fish, Death Note Black Edition, which also has 2 volumes, and then we've got Sheets. Moving over, we've got Legend, the graphic novel, Lore Olympus Volume 1, Heartstopper Volumes 1 through 4, and The Killing Joke, which is a Batman comic. This is my thriller and horror shelf, and as you can see, there is some shelf space free because I have pulled out some books that I am reading this spooky season that I have on my TBR cart, which I will show you at the very end. But over here, we've got House of Leaves, The Final Girl Support Group, Ace of Spades, The Haunting of Hill House, which, by the way, this cover of this edition, very freaking unsettling. I can only look at it for so long before I get freaked out. We have got My Heart is a Chainsaw, one of my favorite covers that I have in my collection, which is Plain Bad Heroines. This isn't even a special edition. This is just the UK/European edition, but I love it so much. I think the pop of color is quite nice. We've got The Only Good Indians, The Plot, The Burning Girls, The Thursday Murder Club, Angels and Demons, The Silence of Bones, Crossings. We have got Nothing But Blackened Teeth, If We Were Villains, Stalking Jack the Ripper, and the second book, Hunting Prince Dracula. I didn't show you this edition of The Hunchback of Notre Dame just because it was so high up, but it is the season collection of classics. These are quite nice. They're super premium. They're all numbered. They bring their own bookmark, and it's just a really nice thing to collect if you're into classics, so I do have 2 of those. And to wrap up the shelf, we've got When No One Is Watching, Draco, El Diario de un Demonio, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, Big Little Lies, and You. More manga and graphic novels. We've got Arusha and the End of Time, the first 4 volumes of Fens, the first 3 volumes of Monstress. I know I've said this before, but the illustration style for Monstress is absolutely crazy. It is so detailed. We've got the first 5 volumes of Saga. We have got Hotel Diablo, Hush, which is another Batman comic. We've got March Volume 1, Brightly Woven. At the top, we have got a few others. We have got one of Olive E. Blake's graphic novels. We have got Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, which I lost the dust jacket for when I was younger, but I've had this book for, I think, a decade now. It's been a while. style. And I have always said this, but despite owning this, still to this day, I am unsettled by the illustration style. It is so pretty, but it's very unsettling. And at the top there, we do have Death Note, Another Note, the Los Angeles BB murder cases, which is a prequel to the Death Note manga series, and that is a novelization too. On a Sunbeam, The Girl from the Sea, Check Please Volumes 1 and 2, Uzumaki, and Paradise Kiss, which is the entire omnibus. Alright, we are walking into YA fantasy galore for the next few shelves. We have got The Kingdom of Back, What Once Was Mine, Go the Distance. These two are Disney retellings, and I've heard really great things about Go the Distance in particular. We have got The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare, The Savage Song, The Storm Crow, Iron Widow, The Wrath in the Dawn, Crooked Kingdom, and I don't know where I left my copy of Six of Crows, so I just have the sequel. We've got Lake's Edge, The Last Magician, This Poison Heart, we have got Catwoman, then we have The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina, Never Look Back, Warcross, Children of Blood and Bone, Children of Virtue and Vengeance, The Afterlife of Holly Chase, and Okoye to the People. Here we have Serpent and Dove, which, listen, is arguably not the best book in the world, but it was so entertaining. I kind of want to read the second and third one. We have got a regular edition of Jade Fire Gold. Then we have Little Thieves by Margaret Owen, which is one of my favorite books I have read this year, and the Illumicrate edition. Listen, they really did the damn thing with this naked hardback. It is so gorgeous. And the story itself sort of rekindled my love for YA fantasy at a time where I really wasn't loving what I was reading in the genre because I felt everything was so similar. And so if you're looking for a YA fantasy that feels super different and that doesn't necessarily read like YA, would definitely recommend this book. Then we have Cemetery Boys, All of Us Villains, and Bone Crier's Moon. In this corner, we've got the first 3 books in the From Blood and Ash trilogy, and that is exactly where I'm leaving it. Not reading any more books. I am so disappointed in this and just a lot of choices that were made in the series. So definitely giving up on this one. We've got A Shadow in the Ember, which I did start reading. You can see the bookmark right here at the top, and then I haven't finished it because I don't have the motivation to do so, because this is really not that good for me. I don't really love it. This is the cover of the Diviners I was speaking of earlier. This is the OG cover, so I really appreciate Fairyloot for staying as true to this as possible. We also have Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko, Nevernight, Only a Monster, The Dark Artifices by Cassandra Clare. We have got Under the Whispering Door, Luminous, The House in the Cerulean Sea, the Hunger Games trilogy, Ready Player One all the way over there, The Martian, and The Wild Ones by Nafisa Assad. And just in case you guys haven't seen this cover, how stunning is this? This is definitely one of the prettiest regular editions I have on my shelves. The illustrator did a beautiful job with this cover. And for the last bit of YA, we have Muse of Nightmares in the regular edition, and this was the biggest surprise of my life because I ordered this from Amazon and it came signed. This was honestly the surprise of a lifetime, and I am not mad at it at all. We have an OG, The Unbecoming of Mary Dyer, Heartless. We've got Kingdom of the Wicked, Kingdom of the Cursed, Kingdom of Exiles, Wings of Ebony, Lobisona, The Gilded Wolf, and A Dark and Hollow Star. I'm just saying, it comes with double security, except that this one does bite the books and eats them. So maybe she is the thief. Then at the very bottom, we have poetry / classics. So starting all the way at the corner, we have got the Mina Lima edition of The Wizard of Oz, which is really pretty. And if you know Mina Lima, they do these really pretty interactive versions of classics, so it really is great to elevate the reading experience or just to collect something super intricate if you're a fan. We have got 1984, Anna Karenina, Untamed, Call Us What We Carry, The Iliad. We have got a very torn up edition here at the top of Break Your Glass Slippers. Both Vin and Syl, when they were younger, well, yes, Syl is still a baby, but they really climb in here. And as you can see, they bite the top of the highest books just because they can. And it's just a thing that happens in this household and I've had to embrace. We have got Letters to a Young Poet. We've got 3 of Rupi's work, so Home Buddy, which is my favorite, Milk and Honey, and The Sun and Her Flowers. We have got The Witch's Guide to Manifestation. This really didn't fit anywhere else, so I just put it in here. This is one of my witchy books. We have got Clarity and Connection, Where Hope Comes From, I Am the Rage. This Jane Austen is Northanger Abbey. I was like, which one is this? Because it doesn't say anything on the spine. It's very mysterious. We have got Emma, Pride and Prejudice, Fairy Tales by Hans Christian Andersen, The Fall of the House of Usher and Other Stories, The Joy Luck Club, The Crucible, East of Eden. But also these orange editions from Penguin Classics are absolutely stunning. They've got some really great foiling in them, and the design just really adds something to the typical super simple orange editions. So these are some of my prized possessions. Over here we've got some Oxford classics, so The Custom of the Country and War and Peace. We have got Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky, which is one of my favorite classics. Wuthering Heights, The Odyssey, The Picture of Dorian Gray. We have got Macbeth, Giovanni's Room, Frankenstein, The Great Gatsby, Little Women, 20 Poemas de Amor y una Canción Desesperada by Pablo Neruda. We've got Lady Susan, The Watsons, and Sanditon, and Jane Eyre. Moving on to some Book of the Month shelves. I have them all the way at the bottom, and we first have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Vin. Hello, Miss Ma'am. So we've got cats and books in this household. Hi, baby. How are you doing? Can I show the books, please? Oh no, she wants the camera. Thank you. We have got Women of Light. We have got The Lifestyle, Things We Do in the Dark, The Lies I Tell, The Verifiers, Rock, Paper, Scissors. Vin again. She's just seeing my hand and she's like, I want it, Mom. Oh, we have got Red, White, and Royal Blue. Maybe you should talk to someone. Velvet is the Night, As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow, and Thistlefoot. She really does want all of the attention. Hi, Vin. Vin just wants to be a part of this, and you know what? I'm here for this main character energy, but we've got a few we've got a few Book of the Month books. Hi, Vin. Not her rubbing against the books. Anyways, we have some Book of the Month books that Vin is very fond of, apparently. We've got Razorblade Tears, The Book of Cold Cases, True Biz, Kaiki, Bittersweet, The Keeper of Night, The Secret History. We've got A Second Cat. Hello, Syl. We've got Crying in H Mart, The Heart Principle, The Goldfinch, The Night Swim. Vin, your booty hole is on the camera. We've got Book of Night, People We Meet on Vacation, The Maidens, Malibu Rising, My Body, Project Hail Mary, Dear Edward, Yinga, Where Is Your Husband, Piranesi, Tell Me Everything, The Magnolia Palace, and Bringing Down the Dew all the way in the corner. And then we also have some at the top. So we have got The Bodyguard right here. We have Upgrade by Blake Crouch and Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. We're nearing the end, friends, but we have got The Cartographers. I absolutely love this cover. I think it's really, really pretty. Again, reminds me a little bit of color blocking, and as well as Peach Blossom Spring. I think this is also a really awesome cover. We've got The Library of Legends, Will, The Anthropocene Reviewed, The Chestnut Man, How to Marry Keanu Reeves in 90 Days, The Death of Vivek Oji, The Hacienda, Yerba Buena, and The Firekeeper's Daughter. We've got Book of Magic over here with Magic Lessons. These are also Book of the Month editions, but they don't have the little logo at the top, so I just put them here separately. We have got the Mortal Instrument series by Cassandra Clare, Lore, How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories, one of my prized possessions as well. Also, Gav helped me get this. He literally sent it to me all the way from the UK, so he was an absolute champ. Shout out to him once more, because this has been sold out for a hot second. We have got the Twilight series again, but in the white editions. Listen, when I initially bought these, I bought these in like 2012, 2013 or something. In Amazon, it showed red sprayed edges. I had never seen sprayed edges in my life. I was so excited because I was like, oh my god, the pages are gonna be red. I got the white editions, which I mean are really, really pretty, but they didn't have the sprayed edges. And I spent all of my teenage years thinking that it was a scam and that it was a lie, but apparently they do exist. They were just a special edition. And those were the ones I bought, and those were the ones I didn't receive. So I guess I got second best in this equation. Then we have got Chain of Gold and Chain of Iron. Super excited about Chain of Thorns. And then the Shadowhunters Codex, Legendborn, and the Arc for the Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, all the way at the corner. And for the very last shelf, we have got the last bit of Book of the Month books. So we have got The Love Hypothesis, The Paris Apartment, Home Before Dark, Gone Girl, Mexican Gothic, Dark Places, The Holiday Swap, A Deadly Education, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Apples Never Fall, and The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. And to finish everything off, I have my TBR cart, which is in this really pretty muted green, but I have The Blood Trials, Disorientation, We Free the Stars, We Were Dreamers by Simu Liu, we've got an arc of Foul Lady Fortune, we've got an arc for Bloodmarked, and another paperback of Legendborn, Killers of a Certain Age, The It Girl, a regular edition of Babel, which is the one I read. And let me show you this, because because I went in on the annotations as I expected to, and I have no regrets. Down below, we have got Norwegian Wood, we have got My Policeman, Rumi Selected Poems, we have got In Watermelon Sugar, The Course of Love, Siddhartha, Love is a Mixtape, and This is Not a Memoir. And we also have a nice little raccoon plushie because this is the Patreon mascot. A raccoon. If I turn this around, we have a few more books at the back. So we have got Arsenic and Adobo, Misery, We Have Always Lived in the Castle, The Year of the Witching, we have The House Across the Lake, as well as Amari and The Great Game. And down here we've got 2 more books, Burning in Water, Drowning in Flame, and Sex and World Peace. And that is it for today, friends. That is the bookshelf tour. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I tried to find sort of the perfect middle ground between showing you every book, mentioning every book, and then showing you the special ones. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. Don't forget to smash that like button down below if you did, and subscribe down below for more bookish content that I am constantly putting up in this realm of the internet. Don't forget to let me know down in the comments how you arrange your bookshelves, and if there is anything in particular in here that I have not read that you want me to read like ASAP. You're like, Mel, you're gonna love this. This book is awesome. Do let me know down in the comments. And if you reach the very end of the video, let's leave a cat emoji down below for our special security guest stars. Also, if you want more exclusive content, videos, live shows, a book club, a Discord server, and just a ton of updates that you're not gonna see anywhere else on the internet, I do suggest signing up to Patreon. It is at the top of my description. You can just head on over, pledge, and become a part of the family to unlock a bunch of content that you're not gonna see on the main channel. And alongside that, you'll be able to find all of the links to my social medias. I love you guys so much, and I shall see you on the next one. Bye!